Yo, welcome back to GFXRhino. Today I'll be showing you how to make cartoony Roblox GFX. I found this cartoony GFX right here that I thought looked really nice. If I can find who created it, I'll make sure to credit them on screen right now. I found it in this like chicken egg farm simulator game or whatever it was, and that's what I'm going to be showing you how to recreate today. Before we begin, there is two things I want to mention. First of all is that there are kind of multiple types of cartoony GFX. There's this type where it has like an actual render of a character and then they've put like a cartoony face on there, and then there's the type where you actually draw the character, and that one where you draw the character, of course, you kind of just have to learn how to draw. I won't be showing you how to do the ones where you draw them because that does take actual like art skills, but after you get like the shape of the character down, it's just about adding a little bit of shading, and it shouldn't be too hard to learn, honestly. But I'm going to be recreating this today. And the next thing you need to know is that with cartoony GFX, a lot of it is actually just Photoshop work, but of course a lot of you probably don't have Photoshop. I will be using Photoshop today because I know all the different keybinds and it has a few extra more features. But if you don't have access to Photoshop, you can use the free alternative Photopea. Just head over to photopea.com. Every tool inside of Photoshop that I'll be using today will also be inside of Photopea. So even though Photoshop does have a few more extra features and stuff, I won't be using them, just so people watching can obviously follow the tutorial if they are just using Photopea. If this video is helpful at all, make sure to like, subscribe, check out GFXRhino.com for completely free Roblox GFX assets, join the GFXRhino Discord server if you do need any help, or just to join an amazing growing GFX community. Let's jump right into the video. I'm starting off here inside of Blender. I've already got a noob rig set up here, as well as just this random chicken model I found. We're going to be obviously creating this today, so I'm going to be putting this on my second monitor, and we're going to start off by adding in a camera. I'm going to go add camera, and then I'm going to go into the camera view, and I'm going to go view, navigation, walk navigation. Then you can use WASD and Q and E to go up and down, and also the scroll wheel if you want to speed up or slow down. And we're just going to move our camera into a nice position. I'm of course going to be basing it off of the reference, so let me get a good camera angle. With the camera selected, you might also want to go under the camera properties and mess around with the focal length a little bit. So I might just set it to like 40, we'll go 43, but I like to round it up, so we're going to go 45. And we'll just get a nice little camera angle. Now, just to keep the video short, this isn't going to be an absolute beginner tutorial. I'm kind of going to assume you know at least a little bit about Blender and Photoshop or Photopea and stuff like that. If you don't, you should be able to follow along just fine, but there might be a few things you need to figure out on your own. Or, of course, just join the GFXRhino Discord server and see if anyone can help you. Looking at the reference as well, it seems like the head is a little bit bigger than it should be, so I'm going to increase the head size just by selecting it and then clicking S. I'll move it up a little bit too, so just make the head a little bit bigger. A nice little trick too is with the Roblox starter rigs, you can actually change the face texture, of course, and if you change it to just a completely transparent PNG image, you can actually have it so it's completely faceless. So there we go, I have both the character and the chicken in the position I would like them to be in. I've left a gap between them here, so then in Photoshop I can actually separate them into their own layer and then move them around if I need to. But now we need some lighting. For lighting, I'm going to keep it very simple, and I'm just going to go up, add light, and then I'm going to add in just a sunlight. With the sunlight selected, head down into your light properties, the data object properties here. You can increase the angle to 180. And if you look now, you just have some very easy basic lighting. I'm going to increase the brightness to about 2.5. Make sure under your render properties here, it is set to cycles. And now you should be able to click F12 and start to render it out. So inside of Photoshop, I'm going to start off by selecting my layer, right click on it and make sure it is rasterized here. So then we can use the select tool over here and just select our chicken. That I'm going to click, what is it? I think it's Control X and then Control V. So now we can move around just the chicken and position it where we need. So there we go. I've just positioned them based off of the reference, and now we need to do some color corrections, because obviously if we look at this yellow here, it's very bright, saturated, but then we look at our character's yellow and it's this bland gray color. So we're going to start off, I'm going to click my character's layer, and I'm going to use this little button right here. This has all of the different adjustment layers we can use. I'm going to add in a hue saturation one, and under the properties I can increase the saturation. I'm going to also add in I'll add an exposure. We'll see if that does much. What you can do is you can hold down Alt and then click in between the layers like that to clip them into just this layer. Your Photoshop or Photopea layout might be a little bit different. I've got my properties over to the side here. Yours might be like here or in another place. So there we go. I also added in a brightness / contrast and just added a bit more contrast to them, as well as a levels right here, which I've just brought the whites right here in a little bit. So I think that looks pretty nice. I'm going to select all of my adjustment layers as well as the render here, and I'm going to click Control G or just click this little group button, and that'll put it all into one group. I'm going to select all of my adjustment layers here, and I'm going to drag them onto the new layer, like add button right here, and that'll just duplicate them. We'll drag them along and apply them to the chicken here. So I'm going to hold down Alt and then click in between the layers. So now you can see that all of these adjustment layers also apply to just the chicken, which, to be honest, the chicken could probably use a bit more saturation and just a little bit more adjustments. Once again, I'll select all of these layers and group them in. We're going to keep it all organized. I don't usually keep my Photoshop files organized, but you probably should. So I'll call this character and chicken. So we've got the character there as well as the chicken. Now we need to also add the outline. So I'm going to actually move all of my adjustment layers out of the group and apply them to just the group. What this will let us do is actually split the character here up into each of its separate like body parts. You can see how it outlines the arm, it outlines the torso, it outlines each of the separate body parts. So what we're going to do to separate them is you can just do it manually with the selection tool here, whichever one you want to use. The polygonal one is pretty nice if you want to just come in and do it manually, but you could probably also do the object selection tool could be good, but it is a little bit slow, as you can see, and it doesn't do a perfect job. You can also use the magic wand, might be it's not bad if you increase the tolerance. Maybe we'll go 100. See, that selected it. All right, I'll try like 70. Yeah, 70 did pretty well, so I'll do that. I'll also select the head here, make sure it's all selected just like that. And with it selected, I'm going to click Control J, and that'll duplicate it into its own layer, so I can actually hide the rest of the body and have just the head here. And then we can just do that for each body part. So if I select the thing here, and we do just the torso, make sure it's all nice and selected. That looks pretty good. We'll click Control J. All separated into their own layers. And now we need to add the outline. So I'm going to double click on one of my layers here, and I'm going to add in a stroke. Just by checking that, you can see we already have a bit of an outline now. I'll decrease it just a little bit. We'll go about there. And then what you can do is after you have one of those, you can just right click on it, go copy layer style. In Photopea, you right click and then you go, there'll be like style or layer style. And then under that, you'll be able to copy the layer style. Copy it. You should be able to select all of your other body parts and then just right click and then paste the layer style. All of them will have it now. It isn't perfect looking at it now, and I think that is because the torso is a little bit like over selected a little bit, so we'll just come in and just delete the extra little bits just to make sure it is nice and perfect. So I don't think that looks too bad. You can obviously make sure it is perfect if you'd like, but I think that looks alright, so we'll just leave it like that. I'm going to do the same for the chicken, and I'm going to move all of these out and apply them to just the group of the chicken. I will, just to keep it a bit more organized, I'll actually put both of these into their own groups as well. So we just have inside of the group, we've got all the adjustment layers, and then inside of the group, inside of that one, we've got all of the different parts of each of the characters. Of course, also make sure to go file and then save your file just in case anything happens, it crashes or something, you can actually recover it. Now it's time to make some shapes. We're going to use the shape tool down at the side here. You can right click on it and use the rectangle tool. We're going to use this for, first of all, I'm going to make the line right here in the middle. Well, it's not really in the middle, but yeah, we're going to use that. We're going to set the appearance of the shape, which you can also do up here. You can set the fill to white. We want to make sure it's white, and then for the stroke, I'm going to set it to black and then make it maybe 5 pixels. Be sure to click enter. The next shape we're going to create is this green grass at the bottom. Super simple. We're just going to make a square there. It does actually look like it actually is. It might have been rendered out with it as well, looking at it now. There's actually like, you can see there's squares and stuff on it, but it doesn't matter too much. You don't really notice that, so I should just be able to get away with using just a shape. It's already got the stroke from that previous shape. We should just be able to select it. I'm going to hide it, and I'm going to, with it still selected, go to the fill, and I'm going to select this green color here. There's also like tons of like backgrounds and stuff you can find online. In fact, you might be able to find this exact one here online. There's actually tons of like free backgrounds and stuff you can find online too that come with the skies and stuff. So I've just grabbed this cartoony sky from online. I'm going to use a color balance, I think should make it more cyan or green just to match that color more. Maybe we'll increase the exposure a little bit too. Group that together, name it sky, and I'm going to put it in the back there. I've also just made a white rectangle here. I'm going to go to filter, blur, and then use this blur here, rasterize it, and and then just blur it up a bunch, chuck in the back behind the grass there. So as you can see, it's just kind of blurry now, kind of going down to white. As you can see on the reference, it does the same. I'm gonna grab the text tool here and I'm gonna type in level. We're going to add the level text in right there. I'm not sure 100% what that font is, but we should just be able to use any sort of cartoony font. I'll change the color to a white. I'll double click on the layer and we'll give it a stroke. If we select the text tool, we could use this arc thing right here, this warp text, use the arc, and we'll just make it a little bit arced. Click OK. And then I'll select it and we can drag it down to this little plus here to make a duplicate. And then I'm going to double click and I'm going to change this to 0. And because we can, I'm going to just stretch it to make it more of that shape that we need. It looks a bit like an egg now, which kind of matches the theme, so I like that. I'll grab the 0, hold down shift, select the other text, and then we'll duplicate both of these just by dragging it to the plus layer. There's the, you can just click Control J if you're in Photoshop, but I think it might be Control Shift J to duplicate if you're on Photopea. I'm not sure. But yeah, just mess around with all this until you can get it good. Get the text nice and lined up well. That looks fine, I think, like that. Stretch it a little bit. So what I want to do now is we'll go back to our layer styles on the 999. We'll remove the color overlay and instead we'll give it a gradient overlay. I've already got quite a nice gradient on there, but we do want like the rainbow, which for this, I'll just move the text down and we'll just copy the colors from here. Alright, I'm going to make a circle here using the ellipse tool. Make sure it is below the character just to give him a nice shadow there. So we'll make sure it is actually aligned right there. And then we'll just duplicate it as usual. I'm just going to start clicking Control J to actually duplicate it. And then we'll move it along for the chicken. And then I'll select both of these here. And there we go. I'm going to add some more text in here. We're going to do the little +1 right here. And we can also actually do the +99 things as well. So we'll just type +1. So I'm just going to go ahead and find all the elements I need. So the background, the earth, the eggs, and the shine. Hopefully I can find like a shine like this maybe. And then I'll go ahead and show you how to do all the effects and the saturation and just making it look good. So I'm going to go ahead and find all of the different elements we're going to need for this side. Alright, so I just got a few different images from Google. I'm going to start off with the earth right here. We're going to give it, of course, we're going to double click on it and we're going to give it a stroke. I will also go ahead and add a hue saturation, an exposure as well, not a curves, we'll add an exposure. Clip both of these into the earth and we will increase the saturation a bunch. Exposure, and just make it look very, very, you know, bright. We'll group that and we'll call it the earth. Where is it? Inner glow, and we'll make these sides pretty big and we'll just make it like a light, very light blue. Comparing it to the other earth, I think that does look pretty nice. Alright, and I've just realized our layers are absolutely chaotic right now. It was a bit organized, but then we kind of stopped organizing it. So I'm going to grab all of my text, which is about to here, group that, and we'll call this text. That also includes the little eggs though. So we'll also grab all these 99s and all the extra eggs. 99, egg, 99. Chuck all of that into the text folder. So now we've just got all of that text and stuff in one folder, which is pretty nice. Now I'm going to go ahead and lay out all of my eggs here. So it's pretty simple. Using that method I told you before, where you hold down Alt and then you just drag with your mouse. You can drag them and duplicate them pretty easily. So I'm just going to lay all of these out right now. And for the night sky here, I'll just bump up the exposure, I think. Making sure it is clipped into the background here. Bump up the saturation as well. And I think I'll also do a color balance maybe. See if we can just make it a lot more, you know, pink and blue. And except for this one egg needs to be above the text, I think is how the reference had it. Like that. So then we've got the earth, the eggs, the text, and the last egg to go over top of all of it. So it's looking all right, but there's definitely a few more adjustments and everything we need to do. I'm going to grab the group that we've got here for all of the eggs, which you can see, it's got all the eggs in it. I'm going to duplicate that, and then I'm going to right click, and do merge group, which you can just do Control E, and that'll merge it into its own group. So what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to put it behind the eggs. I'm going to double click on it and I'm going to give it a outer glow, just to give it that nice glow. And we could have just done that on the group layer. We could have just given the group here that outer glow, but the reason we put it into its own layer is just so then we can come in with the eraser here, which you can just grab it at the side. You can just click E on your keyboard to grab it, and we're just going to erase this part at the bottom. You can see that's just going to erase the glow, so then we don't have the glow completely around the place. We just have it where we want it to be, which, as you can see in the reference, it's only really around up here. So in fact, all we need to do, we don't even need to erase it, we just need to put it behind the earth there. And that should be pretty good. We'll come in with our brush, and I'm just going to select black and just draw in some black around here. As simple as that. I'll kind of just do it around the sides here. That little bit of just drawing in some stuff. I'll select this purple here, and we'll do a little bit of purple at the side. I'll also just grab just a blue, do a bit of blue at this side maybe. Grab more of a brighter blue, I think. I'll then just find a layer style that makes it look good, whichever one looks the best. Maybe that one. I do think I like that one. Yeah, and we'll set it to black, and I'll just do a little bit more around the sides here. Also, I've just set the inner glow here to screen and made it a lot more visible. I think that just makes it look a lot more like it's glowing. Looks pretty nice. Under our characters group right here, I'm going to add in one more extra layer, and this is just going to be for shading. It should be pretty quick and simple. We'll just grab the brush here, set the hardness to 0, and we want to set the flow here to 10%. So turn that down, and what we should be able to easily do is I'm going to make sure it's clipped into the character. So just be able to come in and draw here and just do a bit of very simple shading like this. Obviously it doesn't look good just yet, but I'll show you how to actually make it look good in just a second. So after you've got that, you just want to go ahead and set it to soft light right there. So definitely just go ahead and make a few adjustments to make sure it does look good. I think that is pretty nice. It just adds the nice little touches that it does need. Now I'm going to go under our character with each of its different body parts here, and I'm just going to go through and adjust each of the colors. So what we can do to do that is I'm going to select the head first of all, and I'm going to add a color balance, make sure it's clipped into just the head. And if we just mess around with the yellow, maybe a bit of the red, just to really get a nice popping color, a bit more green maybe too. You can see it just does look a little bit nicer with that. We'll do the same. We'll make sure this is added onto the arms, which is, those are the legs there. Are these the arms? Yep, that's an arm there. So we'll clip that into the arm and then clip this into the other arm. Now I'm going to add a color balance for one of the legs here. Make sure it's just a lot more green, a lot more popping. Alright, I found this face here inside of the GFXRhino Discord server, inside of the public resources channel. So if you want to get these faces easily, you can probably just find them online, to be honest, or just in random Discord servers and stuff. But there are some in the GFXRhino Discord server if you do want to pick those up. So I'll just put this face on right here. Alright, and for the final thing we need to do, which is the glow effect, I've just found this glow online that I've actually used this tool here, upscale, to upscale it to 6000 by 6000 resolution. You don't really need to do that, it just will be very low quality if you don't. And what we can do is when you have something with a background like this, especially when it's something that glows and something like that, you can set it to screen right here. You can set the blend to screen, which will then hide all of that black. So now we only have the glow. It's not perfect though, because as you can see, you can't really see the glow too much. So what I'm going to do is I'll first of all move it back actually behind all the eggs and stuff. If we hide it, you can see there's pretty much no difference, like some very slight glow. But what we need to do is go ahead and add in an adjustment layer for levels right here. We're going to add in levels, make sure it's into the glow here. And what we can do is we can bring the whites in more. If it's not perfect still, you can actually just duplicate it a few times and that'll just, of course, you know, like increase the glow of it. What we can do now is just line it up behind the eggs. We probably could have found a bit of a better one, but I just found this random one online and I think it works fine. So I'll just chuck it back there. I'll combine these, I'll put them in a group actually, and I'll call it glow. We'll duplicate that group and then I'll bring it down here so we can get a little bit more glow. And I think that is pretty much done. Definitely looking now, the face isn't the best. You know how to fix that. You can just go ahead and find another face. Looking now, the face definitely doesn't look very good. I'll mess around with it a bit more so then it looks like this for the final version. I hope it looks good. I'm assuming it does, with maybe a few more adjustments as well. Just using those different adjustment layers that I showed you how to use, like hue saturation. Maybe I'll increase the saturation a bit. And yeah, just messing around with it a lot more. But I do do think you kind of get the gist of it. It's all just about messing around with it more. Hopefully this video was helpful in any way, shape or form. If it was, if you were able to learn anything at all, make sure to like and subscribe. Join the GFXRhino Discord server, link in description below. Also check out gfxrhino.com for completely free Roblox GFX assets. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you all next time. Goodbye.